Most of us know the Trojan War from that 2004 Hollywood movie. You know the premise. A handsome prince steals a beautiful queen, sparking a massive, epic conflict all for the love of a woman. But the historical records and the original ancient Greek poems written by Homer tell a different story. This marble bust represents the primary source for a narrative where the movie gets almost everything wrong, from the timelines and character fates to the very reason they were fighting. The original texts reveal a conflict completely stripped of romance, a brutal geopolitical war driven heavily by imperial greed. Look at this map of the Bronze Age Mediterranean. Over on the east, you have the Hittite Empire, and to the west, the Greek kingdoms. Right in the middle is Troy. It was a highly fortified port city sitting directly on critical maritime trade routes. As you can see from these trade routes converging on the coast, Troy didn't even need its own navy. They operated as heavily taxing brokers. Any merchant traveling between the east and west had to stop there, meaning the Trojans amassed massive fortunes simply by acting as middlemen. This golden artifact is the mask of Agamemnon, a symbol of the Mycenaean Greeks to the west. Unlike the Trojans, the Greeks were aggressive, expansionist warrior states. They looked across the sea, saw Troy piling up riches without lifting a sword, and wanted a piece of my wealth. When the Trojan prince Paris ran off with the Spartan queen Helen, the Greeks finally had the political excuse, the casus belli, needed to launch a highly profitable invasion. These are the stone ruins of ancient Sparta. When Helen left with Paris, it was a financial and political disaster for King Menelaus. He wasn't born into the Spartan throne. He only ruled through his marriage to Helen. To make matters worse, she took a huge portion of the state treasury with her when she fled. This is the imposing stone lion gate of Mycenae, the seat of Menelaus' brother, King Agamemnon. Agamemnon used his brother's political humiliation as leverage. He convinced the fractured rival Greek kingdoms to stop fighting each other and unite under his absolute command to march on Troy. The film shows the Greeks sailing straight to the beaches of Troy and immediately laying siege. In reality, the massive Trojan walls were too strong to crack, so the Greek army spent the first 9 full years of the campaign attacking and raiding over 20 surrounding islands. These island raids focused strictly on extracting wealth. The Greeks plundered gold and kidnapped local women for enslavement. The horrific conditions and the captives brought back to the camp eventually triggered a devastating plague that began wiping out the Greek soldiers. For nearly a decade, the Greek campaign functioned as a brutal network of piracy, extortion, and human trafficking. You might remember the cinematic duel where Hector heroically kills Menelaus to save Paris. In the original texts, Menelaus easily overpowered Paris. Paris only survived because his helmet broke, allowing him to run away in defeat. Menelaus lived. Then there's Achilles, typically portrayed as a noble warrior fighting for glory. In the source material, he was a warlord who refused to fight because Agamemnon confiscated Briseis, a woman Achilles had kidnapped and enslaved. With his ego bruised, he sat stubbornly in his tent while his own allies were slaughtered. He only returned to the battlefield in a fit of sheer rage after his companion Patroclus was killed wearing his armor. As we move along these massive ancient stone walls, imagine the final confrontation. In the film, Hector bravely faces Achilles. In reality, when Hector saw an enraged Achilles charging at him, he panicked. He turned and fled, sprinting around the entire city of Troy 3 times in absolute terror before Achilles finally caught him. This black figure pottery depicts the intense, unromantic hand-to-hand combat typical of the era. Achilles didn't stop at killing Hector. He tied Hector's lifeless body to his chariot and dragged it through the dirt for days, intentionally desecrating the corpse out of spite. The central figures of this ancient epic were driven by massive egos and savage vengeance. They acted entirely like ruthless warlords, far removed from the polished protagonists we see on screen. Even the infamous Trojan horse is often celebrated as a brilliant tactical strike. In truth, it was a desperate, final infiltration tactic, conceived only after a decade of complete strategic failure against Troy's walls. Once the Greeks got inside, the reality of the sack was horrific. They engaged in indiscriminate slaughter. The entire royal family was executed, and Hector's infant son was thrown from the top of the city walls to prevent any future heirs from seeking revenge. Take a close look at this ancient golden headdress. It represents the immense wealth the Greeks stripped from the city. The surviving Trojan women who once wore items like this were taken as slaves. As for Paris, the man who started it all, he was unceremoniously killed by a poisoned arrow. Amidst the burning city, Menelaus finally tracked down Helen. Despite his initial rage, he spared her life. By bringing her back, he secured his grip on the Spartan throne and reclaimed his stolen treasury. These desolate stone ruins mark the final erasure of a prosperous civilization, the result of a systematic massacre that left nothing behind. You might expect the Greek commanders to sail off into the sunset with their plunder, but they did not get a happy ending either. King Agamemnon survived 10 years of brutal warfare, only to sail back to Mycenae and be immediately assassinated by his own wife and her lover the moment he walked through his door. Odysseus, the man who actually came up with the Trojan horse, was cursed by the gods for his actions. He was forced to endure a torturous 10-year wandering journey across the sea before he ever saw his home again. The Trojan War survives as a sobering record of human ego, the violent mechanics of empire, and the inescapable cost of greed.